Hey guys, it's Rainee Romero with the lovely law firm here for another Carolina Justice Report. Special breaking news. So I'm here with attorneys Sarah Austin and Amy Lawrence, and we just got a little piece of information 2 hours ago, an update with the Murdaugh trials that we've been talking about. So Alex Murdaugh, just was charged with murder in the deaths of his wife and son. What do we know about this?
Nothing. We know nothing.
It just happened, right?
It just happened. I was surprised because I had heard that it was going to happen on Friday. So it's happening a little bit earlier than I expected, and also later than I expected, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're down to know. We haven't seen any of the evidence yet. We haven't. He hasn't had a bond hearing, so the prosecutor hasn't come out with any kind of facts or anything like that. We haven't seen the indictments or warrants or any of that stuff. So as soon as we get a hold of it, we'll let you guys know what we're seeing, what we're reading, and what we think about it.
Yeah, this is new for us too, so we haven't looked into this a whole lot, but just to read, a quick snippet of WCBD's, which is Hampton County, South Carolina, their news report. A Colleton County grand jury on Thursday indicted embattled former attorney Alex Murdaugh in connection with the June 2021 murders of his wife, Margaret, and youngest son, Paul. So the indictments are showing that Murdaugh shot his wife with a rifle and his son with a shotgun.
I will say this, there is something that stood out when you just said that is, I think it's really, I don't know why, and I want to know why, but he was indicted by a grand jury in Colleton County, right?
Yep.
Which is odd because the entire investigation of everything Murdaugh has been with the AG's office through the state grand jury. I just find it odd that came from the grand jury in Colleton County and not out of the AG's state grand jury.
Yeah, that's super interesting. I'm sure that we'll find out why eventually.
Yeah.
And all the evidence. I mean, I hope there's more than just blood splatter evidence, although that's convincing. I'm glad they did that test. Spatter, whatever. I hope there's some videos and some real proof to it. I'm excited to see all of it and see how it plays out.
Well, and Alex's attorneys did provide a statement after receiving the indictment, and it says that Alex wants his family, friends, and everyone to know that he did not have anything to do with the murders of Maggie and Paul. He loved them more than anything in the world.
I mean, we now know that there was some kind of cell phone evidence from Paul's cell phone, right? Mm-hmm. That he was boarding a friend of his dog that night and was taking a video, and it showed his dad there, which goes against everything that.
Yeah. And I think I saw that Maggie's family was coming out and saying that there was marital issues and that Alec had actually lured her to that property.
Yeah, asked her to come specifically.
Right.
To have some kind of talk or confrontation.
To visit with his father, right? If something had to do with his mom and
That's
dad.
how he got her there.
Yeah,
I think his
absolutely.
intention was to, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I guess we'll find out.
Well, in the state, there's actually a little bit more from the statement from him. It says it was very clear from day one that law enforcement and the Attorney General prematurely concluded that Alec was the one responsible for the murder of his wife and son. But we know that Alec did not have any motive whatsoever to murder them. We are immediately filing a motion for a speedy trial. We are requesting that the Attorney General turn over all evidence within 30 days as required by the law, and we demand to have a trial within 60 days of receiving that evidence. Why is that important? What does that mean?
Well, if Dick Harpootlian can get a jury trial in 60 days, he is way more powerful than we ever thought.
Yeah, I mean, there's people waiting for their speedy trials for years.
So a friend of ours texted us immediately and said she's been waiting for one for 5.5 years, and she's like, if they get a trial before me, I'm going to scream.
Yeah.
Well, why is he asking for this? What's his reasoning?
You've got a constitutional right to a fair and speedy trial, and so but normally that doesn't happen.
It's posture.
Yeah. So every attorney will file that motion to have a speedy trial and demand it within so many days.
So that's standard.
Standard, and it's your constitutional right. They can't hold you in jail for 4 years.
Also, they're trying to get it as leverage to get a bond, a reasonable bond, reasonable in their eyes. Right.
And they're trying to signal that they're very confident in their case. They don't need a lot of time to prepare. They know he didn't do it. They think that state's case is weak, and they're ready to go.
Interesting. Okay, so there is some strategy behind that.
They're like, right after you give me all the evidence.
Yeah. Strategy, yes. Just making sure his rights are not violated, because he does have rights. You know, we don't know if he did it or not. I just think I'm excited that if we do get a quick trial, that means that all of it's going to be public very quick, and maybe we'll get to make, our own, the court of a public opinion. Did he do it or not? We'll have more evidence to
Well,
look
and I'm
at.
sure there's some evidence that has not been released, right? That they're keeping close to the heart. So, it would be interesting to know what that is as well. So, Amy.
Just want to know all the things.
But I don't think he should get to go first. I think there should be a lot of trials that are waiting to go before his. I think it'll be another signal of his white privilege and power if he gets to sort of have the Emmett Till murderer's trial within 2 weeks of the arrest. That would be,
some bullshit.
Yeah.
interesting.
Interesting for sure.
Interesting,
Or
but
what Amy
but
says.
grossly unfair to everyone else that's been charged with a crime in South Carolina.
Well, the Supreme Court Justice of South Carolina just called in like two and a half months ago, all the solicitors and judges and said, we've got to get these dockets moving. These cases have been sitting for way too long. So if he gets this speedy trial, like I said, we're all going to be in amazement.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's going to be a bunch of defense lawyers
Yeah.
Well,
that are ready to go tomorrow.
Slamming tables, all upset.
So what happens now? What are we waiting on at this point? What does this mean moving forward?
Well, I think once the next step he'll ask for a bond. He'll get a bond hearing.
Okay.
On the murder, and
what does that mean if you're not part of kind of like the law?
So you have to pay money. You put up an amount that says you'll be back for court. I mean, he already has not paid the bond because I think it's $7 million. Maybe it's a little more with these new charges, but it's like $7 million, maybe a little bit more. And he's not been able to post that. He would still have to post that $7 million plus whatever. But the good thing is that bond hearing, having that bond hearing, we'll hear more facts about the case, and we'll hear from the AG's office of what they have.
Okay.
And also, I think that's good that we're explaining bond hearing, because when I read Fitz News reports on all these details, and I am consuming Fitz News because I feel like that's the only
We're
place
here for all of it. They've got all the deets
that I can get the accurate information, but they do not understand what a bond hearing is. I feel like they confuse it with probation revocations and things like that, and what a bond hearing is not to declare someone a murderer and keep them in jail. There's like two things that are supposed to be considered at a bond hearing: is are you a flight risk or are you a danger to the community?
Gotcha.
I think Alec will be denied bond because he's got a lot of money and resources, and I would not put it past him to
It is
run.
a flight risk, yeah.
And I'm not sure if he's a danger to the community. I think that
he's not a lawyer anymore. He can't steal anybody's money.
Is he going to murder anybody else on these charges? I wouldn't think so, but I think his bond will be denied. But yeah, I think that gets me about Fit News and irks me every time I read it, their description of bond hearing. So I'm glad that you took the time to sort of explain.
Yeah,
what is a bond hearing?
You put, either by your word through a PR bond or an amount of money that you put up, and you can put up the whole amount, or you can go and hire a bondsman and pay them a portion of it, and then they guarantee it. But you're essentially saying that I'm not going to reoffend while I'm out, and when you post that bond, and that you're promising that you'll be back for your court dates. Mm-hmm. That's all that is about.
And that you're going to come and face the trial or the plea
be there
or
at the call of the court.
consequences of your actions.
Yeah.
And so the only reason to hold someone in jail and make them wait for their trial, right, because you're presumed innocence. Mm-hmm. While you're in jail waiting for your trial, you're presumed innocent.
Right.
So the only way to restrict someone's freedom before they're even convicted of the crime is you've got to have them being a flight risk or a danger to the community. You can't just say, I think that guy's awful and he should get no bond. And that's a lot of...
No, that makes sense. A lot of people don't know that. I didn't know that. So that's
a lot of what I
point
read.
out. Yeah.
Now, let's devil's advocate is not the word, but like let's
see the other side of things.
Let's see the other. If he had been convicted or charged with a whole bunch of other murders before this, right? Because we see that. Matter of fact, we're seeing this in New York. We're seeing like violent criminals that are getting like reoffending, and they're not getting their bond denied. They're still getting like these low bonds, if any bond at all, which I think is ridiculous, because that goes against the whole premise of, are they a risk to society?
Right.
Yeah, you're innocent until you're proven guilty. But if you have a history of convictions and violent crimes, then your butt needs to sit in jail because you could hurt somebody else.
Right.
And I think that's the part that Fitz News hasn't really grasped. You know what I mean?
There's definitely reasons to deny bond, and I don't think Alex Murdaugh will get his bond. Like I said, on these murder charges, on the financial charges, I think that he's would absolutely likely to reoffend. And he might be a flight risk. And on the murder charges, I'm not sure. I don't know enough about it if he even did this murder, but I do think he would be a flight risk, and so that's the reason to keep him.
Right.
But you got to make those considerations. You can't just be like,
blanket.
Bad person.
Now,
Keep
how
them in
long
jail.
until that bond hearing? Is that something that takes forever too, or is that something that's pretty quick?
Quick.
It's
It'll be really quick. So this will be held by a general sessions judge. It will not be by a magistrate judge like at the jail. This will be held by a general sessions judge, and it'll probably be within the next term of court. So probably within the next 2 weeks, we'll have a bond hearing.
Okay, good to know.
If not, and now that we know that like the Supreme Court's taken an interest in this case and they're assigning judges and stuff like that are outside the jurisdiction of the normal Hampton, Colleton County, crew that he is buddy with, they might have a special term of court just for that.
Sure.
To get
Just
it
for
done.
him.
Yeah.
Interesting stuff. Of course, folks, we were here filming a different episode and this news came through, so we wanted to kind of stop everything and give that update and kind of chat about it. But of course, we are going to keep letting you know as new stuff comes out and having discussions. So please feel free to reach out. Let us know your questions, what you want us to talk about, any issues you have or opinions about what we've already discussed. And we'll be sure to let you know and update you as we go along. Thanks so much for watching today. We'll see you next time.
When life gets ugly, justice is lovely.